My sister locked me in the basement after I got her dream job, so I missed my first day. But when the police found me and the truth spread, she was fired from her internship, banned from campus, and exposed by every news outlet as the jealous sister. She stood in the kitchen, leaning casually against the counter, holding 2 glasses of juice. Her smile was fixed, practiced, more stretched than sincere, and when she handed me the glass, I didn't hesitate. Why would I? We'd grown up in the same house, shared the same cramped bedroom for 15 years, studied under the same dim light. She was my older sister by only 11 months, but always claimed seniority like it gave her ownership over everything. My toys, my clothes, my decisions. And now, she thought it should give her my future too. When I opened the offer letter that morning, I could barely breathe. The company she used to talk about like it was a holy place, its name written across her notebooks, printed on her vision board, murmured during every family dinner, that company had picked me. Out of thousands. The role was mine. I had earned it with sweat, work, and a portfolio I'd built silently, without showing off, while she applied year after year and got politely turned away each time. She hugged me, tightly, too tightly, whispering congratulations that came out stiff. I'm proud of you, she said. Let's celebrate tonight, just you and me. I didn't think twice. Maybe I should have noticed how quiet she'd been afterward. Maybe I should have questioned the sudden mood shift, the way she kept checking her phone, how she kept glancing at me like she was measuring something. But I was too excited, too ready to begin this next chapter. And so I drank what she gave me. The taste was off. Not bitter, just wrong. Half an hour later, the world tilted. My vision doubled. I remember trying to speak but forgetting the words. The last thing I saw was her silhouette against the living room light, watching as my knees buckled and I hit the carpet face first. Her voice didn't even shake. It's for your own good, she said quietly. When I woke, the air was different, thicker, colder. My head throbbed and my arms were numb. I reached for my phone, but my pockets were empty. The room was pitch black, cement walls pressing in, floor uneven. There were no windows, no sounds except my breathing. I called out, shouted her name, hit the door until my fists stung. Nothing. The handle wouldn't budge. She had locked me inside our basement, our unfinished, forgotten basement, while she walked out the door pretending to be me. Later, I would learn everything. How she opened my laptop, sent an email to HR saying I was declining the offer. How she faked a message to our parents saying I was rethinking things. How she put on my new suit, copied my ID style, and showed up on campus with my name, introducing herself to my would-be manager with a bright laugh and a forged badge. She didn't just take the opportunity. She erased me from it. Down in that basement, I screamed until my voice broke. Hours passed, maybe a whole day. I lost track. No light crept in. No food. No explanation. Just me, trapped in a concrete box while the world moved on without me. But what she didn't know was how thin the walls were. How Mrs. Rourke from next door walked her dog at the same time every morning and heard the muffled banging through our basement vent. She knocked. No answer. She called once, twice. Then she called again, this time to the police.
Despite all these.
They arrived with firm knocks that went unanswered. I heard the shuffle above, boots on the floor, voices. The basement lock clicked and light flooded in like a flood. I shielded my eyes, coughed out something that wasn't a full sentence, and collapsed into their arms. They carried me out, asked questions I couldn't immediately answer. A medic checked my pulse while an officer dialed dispatch. And she? She was just arriving home, still wearing the ID badge with my name. She froze on the porch when she saw me being loaded into the ambulance. The shock didn't last long. The investigation moved quickly. Her laptop was seized. Security footage from the building entrance showed her using my name. She had no answer for the mismatched emails, the time-stamped calls, the inconsistencies. Her internship was dropped within 2 hours. Campus security escorted her out before noon. My inbox flooded with apologies from HR, from the director himself, from colleagues who had read the reports. Every local outlet picked up the story. Headlines used phrases like sibling sabotage, dream job turned nightmare, and the basement plot. Her face was everywhere. Her history of competitive obsession, her aggressive behavior in school, her falsified achievements, dug up and displayed for all to see. They called her the jealous sister, a name that followed her even after the trial started. As for me, I started the job a week later. They held the position. They kept my desk ready. And when I walked in, they greeted me with applause, some clapping harder than others. Someone taped a note to my monitor, the one who earned it. The week between my rescue and the first day at the job, I nearly lost forever, felt like existing in 2 lives at once. In one, I was the man who had clawed his way out of a locked basement. In the other, I was the new hire stepping into a high-rise office like nothing had happened. But people knew. Everyone knew. There was no quiet re-entry, no blending in. Every hallway conversation stopped when I passed. Every email began with some variation of, "We're so sorry for what happened." They didn't see me as a victim. They saw me as a headline. I didn't chase it. I didn't ask for it. But when the world decides to watch, you don't get to look away. The company arranged a press meeting without inviting me. My name was mentioned in every article. A few days later, my manager sat me down, not to talk about projects or onboarding, but to make sure I was mentally stable enough to handle the pressure. He offered paid leave, said I could take another week if I needed. I told him I was fine. I wasn't. Not really. But working was better than sitting at home thinking about how close I'd come to disappearing. Meanwhile, the legal side moved fast. She was charged with unlawful imprisonment, impersonation, falsifying records, and obstruction. She pled not guilty, of course. Said it was all a misunderstanding, that I agreed to let her go in my place, that the locked door was an accident, a broken latch. Her lawyer pushed that narrative hard. But they didn't have to look far to prove otherwise. The basement door had been reinforced from the outside. The screws were fresh. The security footage from the building where she tried to start my job showed her pausing before she introduced herself, as if waiting to remember the lie she'd built. And then there were the digital footprints. My sent email history was clean. The message declining the offer had come from my personal laptop, but the IP address didn't match mine. She'd logged in through her Wi-Fi. She never even tried to hide it. The prosecutors didn't need a motive, but they had one anyway. Pages of it. She'd kept journals, not daily diaries, but fragments. Notes, thoughts, scribbled lines about how unfair it was that I always got what she wanted, even when I didn't try. Her jealousy wasn't sudden. It had been brewing for years. Hidden in silence, fed by comparison. My parents didn't know what to say. They visited me once, sat across from me with stiff expressions. My mother held her hands together like prayer, staring down at the floor. My father kept looking toward the door. I didn't blame them, but I didn't comfort them either. They'd spent so long treating her ambition like something noble. They called her driven. They never called it unhealthy. The court proceedings dragged for months, but public opinion didn't wait for a verdict. The phrase, jealous sister, became more than a headline. It turned into a label. Every interview she'd done in college, every panel she'd been on, every post she made online, people unearthed them, shared them, mocked them. She tried to post a statement once, claiming innocence, calling the media cruel. It was deleted within the hour. Meanwhile, the legal side moved fast. She was charged with unlawful imprisonment, impersonation, falsifying records, and obstruction. She pled not guilty, of course. Said it was all a misunderstanding, that I agreed to let her go in my place, that the locked door was an accident, a broken latch. Her lawyer pushed that narrative hard. But they didn't have to look far to prove otherwise. The basement door had been reinforced from the outside. The screws were fresh. The security footage from the building where she tried to start my job showed her pausing before she introduced herself, as if waiting to remember the lie she'd built. And then there were the digital footprints. My sent email history was clean. The message declining the offer had come from my personal laptop, but the IP address didn't match mine. She'd logged in through her Wi-Fi. She never even tried to hide it. The prosecutors didn't need a motive, but they had one anyway. Pages of it. She'd kept journals, not daily diaries, but fragments. Notes, thoughts, scribbled lines about how unfair it was that I always got what she wanted, even when I didn't try. Her jealousy wasn't sudden. It had been brewing for years. Hidden in silence, fed by comparison. My parents didn't know what to say. They visited me once, sat across from me with stiff expressions. My mother held her hands together like prayer, staring down at the floor. My father kept looking toward the door. I didn't blame them, but I didn't comfort them either. They'd spent so long treating her ambition like something noble. They called her driven. They never called it unhealthy. The court proceedings dragged for months, but public opinion didn't wait for a verdict. The phrase, jealous sister, became more than a headline. It turned into a label. Every interview she'd done in college, every panel she'd been on, every post she made online. People unearthed them, shared them, mocked them. She tried to post a statement once, claiming innocence, calling the media cruel. It was deleted within the hour. The comments had buried it. There was no recovering from what she'd done. The truth had crushed the narrative she wanted. I tried not to watch the trial, but the details trickled in anyway. She broke down during cross-examination, claimed she hadn't meant to hurt me, that it was just a mistake that got out of hand. Her attorney leaned into that. She panicked, he told the judge. It was a moment of desperation. The judge didn't buy it. She was sentenced to 3 years, no early release, no leniency. The state called it calculated sabotage. They showed the receipts for the lock she installed, the messages she deleted, the digital forensics that traced her actions step by step. No one could claim it was an accident. She had planned it, timed it, executed it like a heist. Only her goal wasn't money. It was identity theft, sealed with malice. When the sentencing was handed down, she didn't cry. She just stared ahead, frozen, like her mind had finally caught up to the consequences. After the trial, I moved. Not far, but far enough that I didn't have to see familiar places that reminded me of her. I didn't want to walk past our childhood house. I didn't want to bump into old friends who'd ask how I was holding up. I rented a small place across the city. Quiet building. Sparse neighbors. No basement. The company I worked for promoted me 6 months in. Not out of pity. They made that clear. But because my performance matched the role. I kept my head down, focused, avoided every interview request that came my way. People still recognize me sometimes. They'd bring it up in elevators, at events, at networking mixers. "Aren't you the guy from that story?" I'd nod and change the subject. I never used her name in public again. Years passed. The news cycle moved on. Another scandal, another outrage. My story became a paragraph in retrospectives about sibling rivalry gone wrong. Her name faded from headlines. I didn't follow her release, didn't track her online. Some part of me knew she'd try to restart. Somewhere else, with a new name, maybe a new identity altogether. But that wasn't my concern. What mattered was that the truth held. The lie didn't win. One evening, 2 years after everything, I received a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no return address. Her handwriting was unmistakable. Slanted, neat. The way she used to write lists in our shared room. I didn't open it right away. I sat with it for a while, just looking at my name written in ink, trying to decide whether I wanted anything more to do with her. When I finally read it, it wasn't an apology. Not really. She never said the words, "I'm sorry." Instead, she wrote about time, how slow it passed, how much she thought about what she'd done. She mentioned our childhood once, how we used to race to the mailbox every morning, how she always lost. She said she hoped I was doing well. That was all. I didn't write back. There was nothing more to say. The job grew. I became team lead, then project director. My name was on major campaigns. I spoke at conferences, but I never shared the basement story publicly. It wasn't a badge I wore. It was a chapter. A turning point, not a definition. One day, someone in the office brought a new intern to meet me. She was nervous, polite, well-prepared. When she introduced herself, her last name matched ours. No relation. Still, I paused. For a second, my chest tightened. Then I nodded, welcomed her, and moved on. It was just a name. That evening, I walked home. The sky was soft gray, the air cool. I passed the alley where I once got the call saying she'd been arrested. I didn't stop. The world kept moving, and so did I. The story was over. Nothing left to explain. No more chapters to uncover.